Hi, Senior Seminar and Psychology learners. I just wanted to give you some helpful hints for our methods and results sections that are due this week. So this is just our course, but I'm going to put a couple of links up that will be helpful in my announcement this week. So follow this first link. I love this sample paper, and it's already updated to the 7th edition, which is nice. And it basically just shows you what happens in each section. I know I've thrown this up before, but I just want to remind you that this is great for how do I do the headings for the methods section, what do I put in the participants section, and so forth. So remember that for the participants, because we are not really running this study, let's just propose the ideal study. So equal number of people in each group, equal gender, equal race, equal age. I mean, that would never really happen in a real study, but it's nice to aim for the ideal study. For research design, you have to state if you're going to do an experiment or if you're going to do a correlation. Don't forget that an experiment would be when you randomly assign people to groups, and a correlation would be when you are just looking at variables, like say you were interested in gender, like the effect, like how different genders respond to different treatments. You can't randomly assign people to, gender. So then you would just have a correlation. You'd have a correlation between gender and treatment. So you want to state what your research design is, and then you want to state what your measure is that you're using. This describes tests or instruments used to collect data. And for this, I want to show you a great database that you guys have access to. So go into the Shapiro library, and instead of PsycInfo, this time do PsycTests. When you click on this, this is a repository of tons of psychological tests that are already valid and reliable. So a lot of you guys are doing autism, and you want to get a measurement for how to know that someone has autism, perhaps. If you really, you can just hit search now, and this will just give you all of the possible measurements, but you may want to do full text so that you can actually see what the measurement is. So you can see tons. This is autism in toddlers, family experience questionnaire, adults with autism, music-based scale, home situations questionnaire, family satisfaction. So whichever one it is that you decide to do, maybe it's the toddler screening questionnaire. And you have the PDF full text for all of these because that's what you chose. I just want to show you what this looks like, but this is what you would say for that measures section. You would say, I'm going to use the toddler autism screening questionnaire. And it always has the information like the citation here. So you would just put this, like copy this and paste this into your references section. And if you said that you were using this, it would just be toddler autism screening questionnaire, and then you would do Psy et al. 2012. But this is the actual questionnaire. And see, some of them are very short, but at least you know that it's already valid and reliable, which is great. So that would be what you would put here. And then for the procedure, just say specifically what it is that they're going to do. And then for the results section, this might be, see how it says it may be the most difficult to write. I know that people do feel, like a lot of people who are in psychology feel uncomfortable with statistics. Remember, this time we're not actually running any statistics. You just have to say what statistics you would run. So I'm going to give you another link in my announcement, and I'll show you what that looks like. But I just want to say that this is related to your research design. So if you told me that you had an experiment here, that would determine what statistical tests you would use. If you said that you had a correlation here, that would determine what statistical tests you would use. So here's the link that I'm going to put up. This is what it looks on the home page, looks like on the home page. And I know it looks really cheesy, but it actually gives a great overview of what you should do. So let's start with a correlation. You can see I've clicked on this before. And the correlation is called the Pearson's R. So let me just show you. If you click on this, it says, how do I report Pearson's R? You guys don't have to do scatter plots for this assignment, but you want to basically see how it has three things: 1, 2, and then 3. And so you are writing this in your results section. A Pearson's R was computed to assess the relationship between, say what your first variable is, say what your second variable is. And then you have to say, like, we're just going to assume that all of your tests go well. So say that there was a correlation between the two variables. Leave all of these numbers blank, okay, because we don't have real numbers here. So you have to include this statement exactly as is. I mean, except say that there was a correlation. Don't have the no correlation part. But don't fill in these numbers because that doesn't make sense. We don't actually have any numbers. And then, well, we're not going to do the scatter plot, but report your results in words people can understand. So say this, like describe what that means if you have that relationship. And see how it says when you put these three components together, it will look something like this. So that's great. A Pearson product moment correlation coefficient was computed to assess the relationship between variable 1 and variable 2. And then you guys will just say there was a correlation between the two variables with your numbers blank. You don't have to include the scatter plot. And then describe overall what does that mean. Okay, that's if you did a correlation. Now go back home. And then you have two other options: t-tests for independent and paired samples. Independent samples are just completely different people in each group. Paired samples are, say it's like the mom and the dad, or it's the brother and the sister, or it's the person before the treatment and the person after. If their data is paired in some way, if it's related to one another, you would use a paired samples. And otherwise, if it's not paired in some way and you just randomly assign them to groups and these groups are completely different, that's an independent t-test. So you are doing, how do I report paired samples t-tests, or how do I report independent samples t-test data? And again, you're just saying an independent samples t-test was used to compare your measure, so dependent variable in, and then you describe what the independent variables are and say what the two conditions are. So it would be something like, I measured autism in treatment 1 and treatment 2. And that's what you're writing, what your conditions are. And then include this. And we're going to say that there was a significant difference in the scores. You can leave the numbers blank. I mean, do leave the numbers blank. If you had actual data, it's saying how to fill that in. But then don't forget to report your results in words that people can understand. You would write something like this, but yours would be discussing your actual variables. And then it's saying what it would look like if you put all those together. So you'll end up with however many paragraphs, like maybe it's even just one paragraph. I'm going back home just to show you what the third one looks like. Paired samples t-test data. And for this one, here's your paired samples t-test was conducted to compare your dependent in variable 1 condition 1 and variable 1 condition 2. And then again, write the T statement and then report your results in words people can understand. And it gives you some examples. And then it shows you how it would look all together. So that's basically what you're doing this week. And we just went through the results section. All right. I don't know if you are all right, but I think that that will be a good start. And then feel free to ask any questions that you have.